Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. My name is Tom Scarta. I'm a franchise advisor and coach by day, and I help people figure out franchising even by podcast, I guess by night. I am involved in the franchise industry now for more than 23 years. I've owned and operated my own concepts. I used to be a subway conductor in the New York City subway, opening and closing doors until one day an old timer said to me, "Hey kid, this is a great job because you'll always have a shirt on your back." He said, "It'll never be a silk shirt, but at least you'll have a shirt." I was like, whoa, that's mediocrity, man. And I want more. And I realized that my bosses were not wearing the metaphorical silk shirts, but business owners were. I didn't know how to be a business owner. I was a government guy, but I realized a franchise is a business with training wheels. And that's what I needed, somebody to hold my hand. And so I dove in, I built a smoothie franchise, built it, sold it, had a great time, built another one, crashed that one, wrote a book about it called Franchise Savvy. And if you are on my website, check out thefranchiseacademy.com and pick up the book, Franchise Savvy. It's all my stories, good, bad, and ugly, about my franchise experience. And you should know that stuff before you buy a franchise. Today, I am really excited because I have a great guest. He's a franchise owner. So this is not a franchise company, but it's an owner of Sola Salons. Austin Campbell out of San Diego owns 18 Sola Salon units with more to come. He and his team, I should say, provide more than 700 independent salon owners with their own unique space to cut hair and also do other things. I want to invite in Austin. How are you, Austin?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Tom. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the Franchise Academy. I am excited to have you.
Appreciate it.
Give me, I could probably give the elevator speech on Sola, but let me go to you. How do you explain this concept? Because it's unique.
It is unique. Yeah. And it's something that, had been very commonplace in a couple cities in Texas and Phoenix, Arizona. Had been around forever, but Sola was the first one to make this a real kind of national brand. But the whole idea is the freedom of a salon owner, but responsibilities of employee, or, on the West Coast is a booth renter. It's more common out here to have salons where hairstylists rent the chair. They don't actually work for the salon, which can be a bit of a tax employment issue with the state of California, but I'll just leave it at that. But, we basically provide space to where you can really be that salon owner and be your own boss and be in business for yourself and not by yourself. So we provide space, essentially executive suites for the beauty industry, right? And so we provide space where they come in, they rent a studio instead of a chair, and they have a shampoo bowl, cabinetry, styling chair, and a lockable door so that they can really run their own show. And then the rent they pay us includes all utilities and insurance, Wi-Fi, everything like that. So they don't have to deal with any bills, or, if anything breaks, they don't have to fix it. So really being your own boss without the BS of being your own boss. We kind of take that off their plate and take care of it ourselves.
That is fantastic. So to put it in kind of real simple terms, so I'm a hairstylist. I love cutting hair, but I don't like working for like this jerk who's renting me a chair for 50% of what I'm taking in. I have a following, and meanwhile, this person's taking half my money. Now I could take my following to a Sola salon, have my own suite, open and close when I want, vacation when I want, do whatever I want, and keep all the money, right?
I couldn't say it any better. You nailed it. I mean, you in the way you explained it, you're ready for a Sola salon studio.
I'm ready, man. Tell me where to send the check.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's just it just makes salon ownership easier, and I think a lot of people in the beauty industry, at least out west, and I keep saying that because the East Coast and West Coast, and it's kind of different in the way the industries have kind of developed from kind of an employee managerial structure standpoint. But out west, you go to school, you assist somebody, we're literally paid poverty wages, right, to kind of learn the ropes, because a lot of times you don't really learn how to do hair at school. You learn how to be safe. You learn how to pass the test, right? And then you actually learn how to do hair, as an assistant or kind of mentoring under somebody, and really kind of just being their, peon in a lot of ways. But you learn. And then from there, you go to a commission salon where they, like you said, take the 50%. And then from there, you go rent a chair where you pay, a weekly rent. Instead of a studio, you're renting just a chair in a big open traditional salon, which can cause a lot of drama, a lot of, it's kind of, in my opinion, obviously I'm very biased, but sets up a bit of a, inevitable butting of heads, because you have a salon owner that has to keep a salon moving in a certain direction. Then you have booth renters that pay rent that say, I don't need to do what you tell me to do because I'm paying you rent. So I should be able to work when I want. I should be able to charge what I want. I should be able to use the products I want, which is a huge deal in this industry because people are very loyal to their product companies, specifically their hair care or hair color, manufacturer.
Sure.
And just causes issues. So then they get frustrated, they get pissed and say, you know what, I'm going to go open my own. Then they go open their own salon, bring a bunch of hairstylists with them. Then they just became the other side of the problem, and then deal with issues and, deal with drama. Now they're trying to keep, the ship headed in the right direction. And they got all these other people that are now renting from her that now say, hey, I shouldn't have to do this. I actually want to change hair color lines. And, well, sorry, we're a Bumble and Bumble salon. You're not allowed to do that, and just causes a lot of butting of heads. So this whole concept just solves those problems. Right. It fits in between full salon ownership and chair rental in between. And you theoretically get, like I said earlier, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Can somebody also rent a spot that doesn't do hair per se, but maybe they do nails or massage or some of what they got, lash extensions, things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually been, especially in California, seeing a huge increase in other spa beauty services, lashes being, like you said, a huge one, facials, massage, nails, all different types of skincare, waxing. So yeah, we actually are, I'd say about a third of our beauty professionals are non-hair. Now we do have massage. Typically you need more of a kind of spa environment, really quiet. We're not perfectly set up for that. We have a handful of massage therapists, but it's not ideal for a massage therapist, but it is ideal for, someone doing waxing or eyelashes, or, we've even have nurses that do Botox. So we're having a bigger and bigger increase of licensed RNs coming in and doing Botox and different types of, medical grade skincare, which is actually what we're trying to focus on more and more, because I think that's a huge untapped market that we're just kind of seeing tip of the iceberg at this point.
Heck yeah. And I, we're going to talk more about the benefits from the franchise owner's perspective, but one thing that I all of a sudden just had like a brain flash, or whatever, a light bulb went off during COVID. You guys, the way you're set up, were basically set up for COVID before there was COVID, meaning that it's a salon. It's like I don't know the dimensions, 10 foot by 10 foot glass booth with a closed door. There's a salon person and there's a person getting a haircut. That's it. And if you came to get your hair cut, but they weren't ready for you, you would wait in your car and you could be texted. You come in, there's like a buzzer, right, to open up the door, maybe, you have that kind of setup going on at some of the locations, I believe. So I think that's brilliant. But from a business owner's perspective, why did you get into this of all things? I mean, there's 4,000 franchise concepts in America, literally. Why this?
I can't claim to have done a bunch of research before getting in this, because I was only a couple years out of college. I went to University of Colorado in Boulder, and my uncle Stratton Smith, who lives in Boulder, was one of the two founders of Sola. Right out of college, I packed up my Jetta, moved out to LA, tried to get a job with Anheuser-Busch. Didn't get that job. Got a job with Enterprise Rent-A-Car in their management trainee program. A lot of people do, and then get the hell out after a year or two. And I was one of those people, right? And so I was in West LA renting cars to, people, a lot of people with, rich people problems. And one of them is if their car's in the shop, their Mercedes in the shop, and their rental is a Ford Focus, then that's a rich people problem that I had to deal with. And I quickly realized I didn't like being a part of that, and not a part of that, but, part of kind of more a corporate entity really wasn't my gig. Now I learned a lot about sales and customer service and overall management. I learned a ton in that year and a half, but I quickly realized it wasn't my gig. So I called up my uncle Stratton and said, "What's this Sola thing?" And they had about 4, I think, at the time. They had 1 in Boulder and 3 in Colorado. And then he said, "Yeah, we're just turned it into a franchise." And the first corporate owned one was in Atlanta with a guy named Haynes Chidsey, who's the biggest franchisee now. And then there's 1 in Wichita and 1 in Kansas City. And I said, "Well, what about us doing this out here?" He said, "Yeah, good luck." And then I called my dad, who's Stratton's brother-in-law, and they worked together in a previous business venture and were business partners together. And I said, "I'm looking to do this." And he said, "Well, you do need some money to start this." I think at the time I was still paying off my mattress. I was a couple years out of college, literally living in a closet in Santa Monica. And so my father and I partnered up. We looked all around Santa Barbara because it's a smaller market, LA, and then Orange County. Then I had a lot of friends down in San Diego and thought this would be a great market for San Diego, or for Sola in San Diego. So we started looking down here. I'd spend days down here, just crash on a buddy's couch. So they still had a lease in LA. And we opened up the first one west of Colorado, which was in La Jolla, the La Jolla neighborhood of San Diego, which is a very small location, but we learned a lot. We learned where we needed to be, but locations after that. But I realized that I needed to be down there. So I moved down, and now I've started a life down in San Diego. But to answer your original question, is I didn't do the research at the beginning. I was fortunate enough to have a family member that brought me into this, but we've really spearheaded this in a lot of ways. The first in California, we're the first in a lot of things, and really helped kind of develop Sola into how it is. And I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I absolutely love it, but that's how I got into it. I've learned a lot but I've become close with a lot of franchisees, including your buddy, Mark Kovach, that has done a lot of research and realized that this is a pretty cool concept, just because you don't need a ton of employees. And, we have a staff of about 8 help us run it, but that is pretty cool. And one thing that I really liked about this concept is it's a blend between a creative industry and real estate, right? And that's pretty unique. There's not a lot of places where you could say there's a real estate and a creative industry blended into one business, right? And so I realized quickly that I studied some real estate in college and thought I wanted to be a creative advertiser, and actually create ads. And then I realized that this is kind of a cool combination between 2 industries that don't normally overlap.
Right, they never overlap. As you think about Sola seriously from just a straight up business perspective, what are the highlights, the pros to this business in your opinion?
I think a big part of it is, this getting into the non-business side. Obviously, we're here to make money and create a business, but we really change people's careers, and that means a lot to me and to my group, and my father and brother who partners with me. We're not here just to make money. Obviously, that's what businesses are designed to do, but we're here to also change lives. And when you're dealing with a lot of issues that I think a lot of beauty professionals thought were just intrinsic to the beauty industry, and realize there's a solution to this where you can be your own boss and not have to deal with all the drama and truly control your own career. It changes lives and changes careers. And I think that's been pretty cool over the years. And another thing too is, we have a staff of 8, but it's for 20 locations. That's not many employees. So that's another thing that is great.
I was going to ask you that. So it's 8 that are overseeing 20 locations. It's not 8 per location.
Correct. 8 overseeing 20.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's including me and my brother. So my father is, somewhat retired. He'll never admit he's retired, but he's not too involved. My brother handles all the financial side of things. I cannot handle the development, operational leasing side of things. And and between us two are very active, definitely a full-time job. We have 6 other employees and then a full-time 1099 contractor. So really 6 employees and then a full-time contractor that handles all the maintenance stuff. And that's it for all 20 locations.
That's just amazing when you think about it. So do you have to do any marketing, any sales?
There is, yes, we call it leasing, but as far as do you mean leasing studios to the beauty professionals?
No, I mean marketing or advertising for customers to come and get their hair cut at Sola.
Good question. We do, Sola, not just us, but Sola corporate provides some really good options. One is a online booking system where people can, get clients through that. But we don't actually actively market or sell for each individual tenant. Now, we would have a lot more employees if that's what was expected. Now, we generally draw a pretty well-established hairstylist or esthetician or, nurse or whoever it may be, that they don't need a lot of marketing because that's their thing. That's what they're good at.
Right.
But Sola does provide some backbone. I kind of call it more passive marketing that's available to them. But as far as active marketing and kind of filling their books, that's strictly up to the individual beauty professional.
So unlike any other business, whether it's a sandwich shop or a gym or you name it, where you have to be spending, untold amounts of money every month to get customers in the door, that onus is not on you. That's what you're saying. You're saying that the stylist or the esthetician, they're coming with their own book of business, or they're doing their advertising, and you don't really have to worry about that as an owner of Sola. Is that right?
That is right. Yes. So we really, our advertising, marketing, leasing, sales is B2B, really that's an individual hairdresser, esthetician, but on a business level, so we're bringing them on as a business professional, not as a consumer. So our kind of clients, are who, work in our salons, not their clients. So they're responsible for their own clients.
So what is the typical size of a Sola salon? I mean, how many people are renting out from you on a monthly basis or however you do it?
That's a good question. Yeah. So we used to do about call it 25 to 35 studios per location. Now we're going much bigger. You get some kind of economies of scale from a construction standpoint. A lot of times you can get better lease rates from landlords. But now we're actually the one that we're building later this year. It'll be open by the holidays. We'll have something like 78 studios in it. It's 14,000 square feet.
Holy cow.
It's gonna be a little town in of itself. Yeah. So, but we've done quite a few 10,000 square footers, which is about 50 to 53 studios. So we're going bigger lately, but the average Sola throughout the country is more, call it, 4,500 to 6,000 square feet, which is anywhere from, call it mid 20s to low 30s in number of studios.
It's amazing. I remember Mark Kovac once said to me, because he's involved in some ownership of these salons, and I think maybe even with you, but he said essentially what you're doing is you're renting out a space for $1 and then subleasing it for like $7, right? So that's kind of the deal. Is that right?
That's part of it. Yeah. You provide that, that's why I kind of said earlier, the executive suite idea, is we lease it for X and you build it out. Nowadays, the construction costs, to be honest with you, are expensive, but, but that's just kind of, the situation now. But yeah, we rent out space. We'd love to buy the buildings. I know a lot of Sola franchisees have purchased the buildings throughout the country.
Yes.
In San Diego County, finding a building that matches our criteria is pretty much impossible. But a friend of mine that owns Solas in Temecula bought a few of their buildings. The franchisee group in Minnesota have actually done some ground up, bought some dirt and build it from the ground up, and have absolutely beautiful locations. And then they can, now they're their own landlord.
Right.
But we have leased typically, we go into strip centers out in San Diego that are, $20 to $50 million strip centers. And, that's where we do best. You get a big parking lot, bunch of other businesses around, grocery store, gym, that's where we thrive. And obviously we're not in the market for buying $45 million strip centers, but But like I said, that this concept can work very well depending on the market to use to have, land ownership.
That is cool. And so aside from all this business stuff, you guys were doing something with Ronald McDonald House, and I wanted to talk more about that. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So our daughter, who is just about to be 10 years old on Saturday, she was born with a rare condition called CHARGE syndrome. It's an acronym how they used to diagnose it clinically. They can diagnose it genetically now. But we didn't know when she was born, but we spent the first 2 months at Rady's Children's Hospital, which is the San Diego Children's Hospital. And we spent a lot of that time when she was inpatient there, those 2 months, living at the Ronald McDonald House across the way, because where we live up in Carlsbad is a bit of a drive to that hospital to go back and forth every single day. And we were there literally every single day. So we stayed at the Ronald McDonald House for a while, and it was a very supportive, incredible, welcoming community. And years later, I went back and I didn't even think in my head about doing a salon there, but I met with a couple of people that worked there and said, hey, we'd like to volunteer and, serve food, or just seeing how we could get involved. And then I realized that there was a space in there that years before had been a hair salon that then just turned into a storage space. And I don't know how much use they got back in the day, but obviously not enough to keep it going. And so we said, how about we take that over? We gut everything, renovate it, put in a shampoo bowl, some styling stations, some of the Sola cabinetry that we have plenty of extra of in storage, and make it an actual Sola salon studio inside the Ronald McDonald House, to where our beauty professionals then volunteer their time to give haircuts and sometimes manicures, wash, blowouts, to these moms and dads and siblings of kids,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. I love that.
it's pretty, we like to get involved here in San Diego, not just giving money to charities, but like really kind of rooting ourselves in the, the local community. So that's been cool. Obviously COVID put the skids on that for a couple of years, but it's getting back going now, because obviously they have to be very careful when you got moms living there and dads living there that constantly are going to Rady's Children's Hospital. You got to be very careful that they're not, they're exposing folks as little as possible. So
Of course.
we have gotten us going again here in the last few months, and it's going well. But it really makes your day, makes your week, because when your kid's at the hospital, you don't think about getting a haircut.
Right. It's and just to clarify for people listening that may not know what the Ronald McDonald House is, there's actually a charity that really doesn't have anything to do with the McDonald's Corporation, by the way, but it's a charity that is a building with bedrooms. It's almost like a hotel. Let's call it a hotel. Exactly. Where families of very sick children could stay essentially free of charge. So you don't have to do that traveling back and forth. And it's, in New York, I was involved with the one in Long Island, which is, they just built a second one a couple of years ago before COVID, but it was attached to the Long Island Jewish and Schneider's Children Hospital there in the Long Island Queens border. And I was pretty friendly with the chairman of the whole national organization.
Cool.
But it's a wonderful organization, and you could go to Ronald McDonald House and if you wanted to get involved with that charity. There's a lot of folks that have used it like yourself, and then have come back and said, how can I pay it forward? And it's just an awesome thing. So I thank you so much. And also, wow, I'm a little speechless. So the gala.
Yeah.
You're doing a gala now. Tell me about that.
So we are hosting a gala on April 22nd to raise money for to hire personnel to help coordinate care for children in the area that do have CHARGE syndrome. Like I mentioned, that's our daughter's syndrome. It's CHARGE, like the San Diego, now LA Chargers, but CHARGE. And again, that's how they used to diagnose it, an acronym for how they used to diagnose it clinically. But luckily our daughter's thriving, doing great. But a lot of children with Charge syndrome have some pretty serious struggles, completely blind, completely deaf, major heart defects, GI issues, cognitive delays. There's just a lot of different things involved, and some are more severe than others. And luckily, our daughter's doing great. Obviously, we have plenty of struggles, but she's doing great. And my wife and I wanted to give back as well to the Charge community. And there's a Charge Syndrome Center at Cincinnati Children's Hospital that we've taken our daughter to a couple times to get extensive care. She had a heart procedure there. To get second opinions, has low vision clinic, kind of how to help her navigate in the real world based on how her vision is. And we've thought for years we wanted to duplicate that out in San Diego. And it won't be an actual physical center, but it's going to be hiring a coordinator and possibly an admin person that then will coordinate care. We've already gotten about 6 or 8 doctors on board to be part of this kind of network of doctors that will treat Charge kids like kind of a case by case situation, rather than coming in and a lot of times you go see the cardiologist and ENT doctor and neurologist, and everything they're telling you conflicts and doesn't make any sense, and you don't know what the care strategy is, and it can be very frustrating and overwhelming, and quite honestly, I think can lead to children not making it. When you're not getting the comprehensive care you need. And so we want to again do what they've done at Cincinnati Children's Hospital out here, where they will treat each kid, and for lack of better terms, the Mayo Clinic model, right, where you go there and every specialist that you might need works on your case, and they come up with a comprehensive care package where they all communicate and talk and come up with a plan that will help you, and that's what we're looking to duplicate out here in San Diego. And we have a big event on April 22nd to raise money to get that going.
And that's in San Diego.
Yes, it's in San Diego at the Santa Luz Club. So we're working with 2 other families that have Charge kids. One belongs to this really nice country club, so she was able to sponsor us to have this really nice country club, which is great. The other family actually lost their daughter due to Charge syndrome complications last year at the age of 21, which is obviously brutal, but they want to help so that other people don't have to go through that.
Yeah, amen. That's awesome. That is cool. Is there like a website or something that somebody could look at?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's chargeintothefuture.org. So kind of a play on the Charge syndrome thing, obviously, but chargeintothefuture.org.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so we'll put that on the website, thefranchiseacademy.com. People could link directly to that, and if they want to get involved or just understand what this is all about, we'll definitely promote that. So I got 2 quick questions for you before we wrap this up. So what is your advice to someone if they're listening in right now and they're thinking about getting involved with a franchise? They don't know which way to go. They're scared. What should they do? What's a good franchise? Do you have any advice along those lines for somebody?
I think a franchise really has to support what your lifestyle is, right? What do you want? I got lucky. I say fortunate, not lucky, but this supports my, kind of lifestyle that I like to live. I'm always sort of available, but I'm always flexibility. I'm not managing 400 employees at 20 Jersey Mike's or whatever it may be. And I love Jersey Mike's, don't get me wrong, but that's a different type of deal. And so I think really got to take a look at what, in the next 5, 10, 20 years, what do you want your life to look like? And then find a franchise that fits and supports that lifestyle.
Right. Very well said. Very well said. And that's sort of my mantra, is exactly that. Figure out where you want to be and work backwards, and then figure out what franchise will get you to that goal.
Exactly.
That's how I coach people that are looking for franchises. That's awesome. And not to spring an offhanded question on you, but if you could, is there one myth that you could bust about franchising, or maybe about salon suites? I'm not sure. Anything come to mind for you on that?
I think one myth I'd really take pride in being really involved in our community and very hands-on. I'm not at the salons as much as I used to be, but for 15 years, I was the owner, the guy that would check your sink if it's leaking, the guy that would lease the studios, everything. And I think that sometimes our concept, the salon suite concept, and maybe it's because, and I'm biased, but maybe a couple of our unnamed competitors might do it that way, that we're just landlords. And we're not, at least in Sola and specifically San Diego, we're not landlords. We're here to truly support you much more than that. But I think sometimes, with this concept existing for, on a national level, 15 to 20 years, people can say, oh, they're just a landlord. They're just a crappy landlord. The only time I see them is if I need something fixed, and that's
Right.
it. I just want to, that's kind of a myth that sometimes people can get. And if you are just going to take this approach and just be a landlord, be a really freaking good landlord. Right. And, I know I have some friends involved in Soul, and they take that approach and they're really good at it. Anything breaks, it is fixed instantly. But I think sometimes some other other companies in our concept might create more of a, kind of perception that it's just, a crappy landlord just collecting your money and don't bother me. But that's something that, we really don't ever want to be associated with.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a great concept. It's always been high on my list and high on the list of the folks at Franchise. So I appreciate you taking the time out, sharing your experience about Sola, and also your experience and everything you're putting into Charge. I think that's awesome. So thank you for that. If you happen to see Mark Kovac, tell him I said hello, and please send my regards to your Uncle Stratton. I didn't realize that Stratton was your uncle. I've had cocktails with Stratton. So
yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love Uncle Stratton. I'm actually going to see him this weekend. His mother, my grandmother, passed away a couple months ago. She had a hell of a life, 93.
Yeah.
Lived an incredible life till just a few months before she passed. But we're actually all going to be out in Wichita, Kansas, where Stratton grew up, for a funeral. So we have about 30 family members, aunts, uncles, cousins, cousins, kids, the whole deal, all going out there on Thursday. So I will see Stratton. So I'll say hi for you.
Yeah, please do. Thank you so much. And, God bless you and everything you do, especially with the gala and the charity, the Charge charity. So thank you. And we'll catch you soon. Maybe we're going to catch you at a Grateful Dead show real soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks. This has been great.
Yeah, absolutely.